Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dead Mall Walking. Every now and then, I encounter a mall that reminds me why I got into the Dead Mall space in the first place. Often it's one of the biggies. Tri-County Mall, Jasper Mall, Cincinnati Mall, Forest Fair Village, whatever you want to call it. Then there are the ones I never got a chance to visit, like Century 3 and Rolling Acres. And because they've been demolished, I never will. After taking a little time away from this channel, I'm back with quite possibly the deadest mall I've ever been to. Today I'm talking about the Glenwood Springs Mall in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Movies in the mall, which we're coming up on here, closed back in 2013. So there haven't been movies in this mall for more than a decade now. Sort of ironic considering that the mall was built on the site of the city's old drive-in movie theatre. According to the Cinema Treasures website, the cinema sits almost exactly where the projection and concessions building for that drive-in was located. Now it's full of paint, car batteries, and a lone big gulp. At the time of recording, this mall has 4 inline stores, give or take, and a couple of connected anchor stores that don't have any internal connection to the mall. This mall doesn't fall into either of the categories I mentioned earlier. It's not very big, it's not well known, and its history isn't particularly well documented. It doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, though I'm not sure how much of a barometer that is for success these days anyway. But it really could be anywhere USA. So why, you might reasonably wonder, did I get such a kick out of this place? And what happened to it? Let's start with the second question, because it can be answered with 2 words. Glenwood Meadows. Glenwood Meadows, which is also very confusingly called Glenwood Springs Shopping Mall on Google Maps, opened across town from here in 2005, anchored by Target, Lowe's, Bed Bath & Beyond, and Petco. Mostly big box retailers, in other words. In addition to those, well, except for Bed Bath & Beyond, RIP, it now has an Ulta Beauty, a Natural Grocers, a Marshalls, a bunch of phone stores, restaurants, and a couple of major hotel chains right around the corner. I didn't get any footage from there, but it's a nice spacious outdoor spot with plenty of parking. And it's been estimated that Glenwood Meadows generates close to a quarter of the city's sale tax revenue. And I imagine that number may have risen further since those estimates. Lowe's and Target are the city's 2nd and 6th top employers respectively. In other words, against the Goliath of Glenwood Meadows, the David of Glenwood Springs Mall probably never stood a chance. Because the decline of this mall follows a pattern that's killed malls all over America. In just about every other Dead Mall video I make, it feels like there's competition from a newish mixed-use retail development around the corner. That often has a name starting with The Shops At, spelled with 2 P's and an E. People love to say that Amazon killed malls, but you can't underestimate the impact that these fancy outdoor retail parks have had too. I mentioned earlier that there isn't much in the way of history of this place online, but YouTuber French Toast Mashed Potatoes has a pretty good video of Glenwood Springs Mall from about 7 years ago. Yes, 2018 is officially 7 years ago, kill me now, in which even back then he calls it a dead mall. It's worth watching in full, though you can see from these clips how much the mall has deteriorated even since then. Almost all of these stores are no longer here, as we'll see when we walk down that pitch black mall corridor a little later. You know a mall is in trouble when even the GNC bails on it. These days, the closest thing we have to this quirky rainbow-turned-haunted house is a Spirit Halloween, housed in what I think used to be a Dunlap's department store that closed in 2007. Kmart, another former anchor, was located at the other end of the mall next to Movies in the Mall. As a Brit, it was interesting to get a look in here, but once you've seen one Spirit Halloween in a former department store, you've kind of seen them all. This employee's only doorway, or curtain, is what would take you through to that dark mall corridor that we'll go hit up next. As for why I enjoyed this visit so much, I can only try to describe it by saying that this place felt like a museum. The mall was opened in the early 80s, and it honestly seems like parts of it haven't been updated since then. Yes, it felt like the back rooms, especially in that long dark corridor, but it also felt like a preserved piece of history. In an era where Simon and the like are modernising and beigifying malls left, right and centre, it was refreshing to walk around somewhere that felt so nostalgic. It's just a shame that there were so few stores still open in here. Or then again, maybe that was part of the magic. If you want to get into some hyper-local drama, in 2018 there was major beef and a flurry of lawsuits between Ross Dress for Less and mall owner Frank Woods, who claimed that the terms of Ross's lease were making it impossible for him to freely manage the mall. Seriously, Apple TV, Netflix, Disney+, one of you needs to buy the rights and get to work on a show about this. In January 2020, an Arizona-based company showed some interest in buying Glenwood Springs Mall to redevelop it. I can only presume that COVID killed that interest, because it seems like the purchase fell through. In 2021, Ohio-based R2 Partners and Frank Woods jointly announced a contract for R2 to purchase and redevelop the mall. Based on this footage, which was taken in late 2024, that part of the process hasn't yet come to fruition. In the midst of darkness, light persists. So said Mahatma Gandhi during a speech made in the 1940s. And while he may not have been talking about Glenwood Springs Mall, maybe there are some glimmers of hope here. This place is practically begging for a production company to revive this wing of the mall for use in a film or TV show, much like the Wonder Years remake did with Montgomery, Alabama's Eastdale Mall, which I've also covered on this channel. Then there's West Wind, a smoke shop and souvenir store that's still kicking, and seems to have been here for many years at this point. And while it sounds like mall ownership has a turbulent relationship with Ross, the store is still sticking around and appears to generate some footfall. Maybe there's potential to do something with that, maybe not. Look at that Radio Shack label scar. Looks more like Lawnmower Shack in there these days. Don't get me wrong, I don't see this mall getting the same reputation as Century 3 or Forest Fair in the dead mall scene. I'm not even sure I see it being open for much longer, especially if Ross bails. But if you happen to be passing through Colorado, it might be worth checking to see if the doors are open. I'm sure glad that I did. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe and share so the YouTube algorithm will give me a boost. My Instagram and some other ways to support what I do are linked below. Until next time, goodbye from Glenwood Springs Mall in Glenwood Springs, Colorado.